I underestimated you.
Yeah, well, maybe next time you will estimate me.
Hello there and welcome to Strength for Tomorrow Radio. I'm Stuart Thompson. You are a valuable and treasured listener. Thank you for joining me. It's 2022. Can you believe it? I haven't really stopped long enough to process the fact that it is a new year and all the stuff that happened in 2021. I'm constantly doing it from like a business perspective, thinking about what we can do better, how we can improve, but really not personally so much. Life becomes a bit of a hamster wheel sometimes, I guess, so it would be good to sit down and try and process about all the stuff that's gone on in the last year and how we can learn from it and move on into 2022. For it is 2022, I have to get used to that, writing that date down. I have to get over it, accept it, it's happened, deal with it. That's my motivational talk for the week. Last week we were thinking about New Year's resolutions and how we can turn them into New Year results. The New Year, New Year resolutions, generally we do fail at them. There's some crazy statistics. Some people say there's only 9% succeed. Some people say it's as high as 40%, 46%. But generally we do fail when it comes to New Year's resolutions. And when it comes to fitness and nutrition, there are some things that you can do to drastically improve your chances of success. So check that episode out if you're interested in making a change this year, this month. This week we're celebrating the fact that Cross Functional Fitness Limited is 5 whole years old. We've been around for 5 years, and if ever there has been a time to stop and reflect on stuff, I think it's this month. On the 2nd of January 2017, I opened the door of Cross Functional Fitness for the very, very first time. So this episode isn't so that I can pat myself on the back. It maybe sounds like that so far, but it is about sharing what I've learned over the last 5 years, mistakes I've made in training people, how I think about fitness nutrition now compared to how I thought of it back 5 years ago, how we've improved our service, how we've changed things, the progress that has been made to our coaching methods, our equipment upgrades, renovations, extensions, some stats as well about clients being trained and things like that. We're going to try and compile that, and some client success stories over the last 5 years as well, and things that I have learned and things that we're going to look at going into the next 5 years, what we hope to achieve then. So hopefully I can hold it together and don't start crying before the end. So the story of cross-functional fitness, how it all started. So whenever I started training people, I initially envisaged that it would be on a part-time basis. I was living at home with mum and dad, and their house was right beside the gym, funnily enough. So whenever I decided to set up the gym and do personal training, I thought that I could maybe just work early mornings and evenings, just get a few hours here and there training people and build up my experience that way, and then work in the garden centre as I was doing during the day. I had sort of set my expectations quite low, so then you're not disappointed, right? If it wasn't as successful or it put me in debt, potentially. So if anyone came to train with me at the start, I was so delighted, I was so happy, because I had no real reputation, I had no testimonials, I had no professional experience. I had trained friends and family over the years and learned about training and nutrition from lots of different perspectives over the last 15 years, tried things myself. And I delved into it and all of this before I started doing it for a living. But getting started in any business is the most difficult thing, just getting started. And that's why the famous stat is that most businesses close down within the first 12 months of opening, which is kind of sad, but it's a reality. So I started pretty simple. Cross-functional fitness was always going to be about functional training, as you might have guessed. So I wasn't going to fill the place up with ridiculous machines. Barbells, dumbbells, kettlebells were the basis of what I wanted to do. Had a rack, had squat racks and benches, stuff like that. And then I had a couple of spin bikes and things just to get people warmed up, really, a rower or two. One rower, had one rower for so many years. Then gradually I started to buy more equipment, started to upgrade, but starting with the basics and setting aside a percentage of the money that started coming in after had enough to pay myself, then that's when I was able to upgrade and just get other toys that I wanted to use in the gym and have in the gym. Now, it has probably meant that the gym has maybe grown slower than it might have if I'd taken out loans from banks, etc. But I put my own savings into it. There's less risk that way. I don't like banks. I don't want to get involved with banks. And this just seemed like a more sensible route for me at that particular moment. So I put my own savings into it and then used whatever came in to improve things over the years. But I had all the basics. I was really raring to go. Couldn't wait. I was prepared to work 6 days a week, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. if necessary. And sometimes I did. Sometimes there were weeks that I was working 70, 80 hours per week. Not all face-to-face sessions, but certainly over 40, 50 hours per week of sessions. And then all the admin, the paperwork, the program, and the social media, etc. All that went along with it. And it made for very long weeks. But whenever it's your own project and it's your own thing, it's your dream that you're working on, you'd work every hour of the day, right? I mean, there's days I just wasn't getting enough sleep, and that's one of the things I have learned, and we'll talk about those things later on. But I just was keen to learn more and get as much experience as possible in a very, very short space of time. I wasn't married, had no house, no kids, no dog, no responsibilities really. And my girlfriend, who's now my wife, Karen, she was very patient with me. She supported me. She was delighted to see me follow this crazy dream of being my own boss and creating something out of nothing. And I think she could see the joy that it brought me and the excitement that it gave to me. But at the same time, sort of from October to December 2016, so that's the previous year before it opened, I was getting the gym ready, building a toilet and a shower, clearing out one of the old rooms that we use here, power hosing it, calling in friends and family to help me paint the walls, lay the floor, install equipment, and we did it all ourselves. We didn't get anybody professional in, apart from a builder who built up across what was a garage door for the entrance, and then my dad made a really strong steel door and we installed a window. But at the same time, back to the point, I was planning on asking Karen to marry me, so I was trying to save up for a ring while buying all this essential equipment for training people. So that was really interesting, trying to budget things. It was quite tricky, but we decided we went away for a weekend to Prague for Karen's birthday in March 2017, so that's like 3 months after opening, and I popped the question, and we decided we wanted a quick turnaround, so we chose to get married later that year and agreed a date in late October. So I do remember the date, by the way, but you don't need to know that, it's none of your business. So we were then saving up for some wedding expenses as well as the honeymoon. So thankfully Karen's dad very kindly paid for most of the wedding, otherwise the day would have looked an awful lot different. But it's fair to say 2017 was a big year in my life. Something really interesting over the last 5 years has been how many clients that I have trained. So I've trained over 165 clients face to face, and that's not including class members. That's exclusively one-to-one or semi-private coaching sessions, which has been brilliant. I've trained over 100 online clients. Now, some people might look at those stats and think 105 years isn't that many, or 165 in 5 years isn't that many. But the thing is, a lot of those clients have stayed with me for significant periods of time. It's not like I'm churning them out every month. It's not like we were churning them out and splitting them out and saying, on your way. We were able to retain a lot of those clients because they liked training with us and they enjoyed the process. They could see the progress and they could see themselves getting the results. So I guess it is what it is. Stats can tell you all sorts of things, but I could look back and give you so-and-so, add up all the inches that people have lost in their waists, or add up all the weight that people have lost over the years, or all the increases in kilograms that people have been able to lift, but it's not really going to mean anything to you, is it? But interesting. It's interesting to know, I guess. So, thinking back over the last 5 years, I thought it'd be helpful to include some client success stories or some of the wins that I've had the privilege of being a part of, and there are so many. Like, whenever I reflect on all the clients and all the people who have trained with me for significant periods of time, I'm not going to be able to include them all because there's so many things I could mention about each and every individual client, but there's a few that really do stick out in my mind, and I'm going to briefly run through those. So, first of all, there's a client called George, and this is a few years ago, but he was trying to lose some weight. He worked hard, he had a physical manual job, but he was trying to lose some weight, and whenever he started, he started looking after his diet. He started cleaning that up, and that's the main thing, really, as we all know, should know anyway. But he ended up losing 10 kilos in a few months, and it wasn't like a dramatic weight loss. It wasn't anything exceptional, as in like it wasn't anything too aggressive. He'd done exceptionally well. Don't get me wrong, but it didn't really click with him how well he had done until there's one time we were doing some ring rows in the corner. So ring rows, TRX rows, whatever you want to call them. We were using rings, so gymnastic rings, and he was doing like a horizontal pull in the corner, and he was pulling himself up, and he got really, really good at it to the point where he had to elevate his feet. So he had his feet up about 24 inches, and he was trying to pull his chest through the rings, and he got so good at it, so strong at it, that I stuck a weighted vest on him. I thought, okay, George, you've gotten a bit too strong for your own body weight, so we're going to add a little bit more weight to you. So I strapped a weighted vest to him, which was 10 kilos. And I actually went over and just checked back through his forms and his record of the weight he was whenever he started, because he stepped on the scales and then he put this weighted vest on him, added 10 kilos. And the weight that he was then pulling with the weighted vest on was the weight that he was when he started. So he'd lost those 10 kilos. We stuck 10 kilos back on him with the weighted vest. And I said, George, do you realise that was the weight you were when you started here? And he couldn't believe it. It was like a real like eureka moment. It was like a, whoa, like a light bulb moment. It's kind of come on. And I just twigged with him. So he picked the weight up. He sort of felt the weighted vest and felt it was really heavy. That was me carrying that around. Like, he'd lost that much fat from his body, so fat tissue. Incredible effort, really, really impressive. And then he was going to a wedding not long after that, and he was sort of cursing me a little bit and effing me because he had to go buy a new suit. He couldn't fit his old suit was hanging on him. It was too big for him, so he had to go buy himself a new suit. So he kind of held that against me, I think. But yeah, George done it really, really well. It was great to see it, and he got so strong in the process. Another client would be Ed. There's a few Eds, but this Ed, he has been training with me for a few years now. And whenever he started, he had issues with his back, shoulders, his knees, things like arthritis and stuff in them. And he just had a lot of injuries compiled over the years from working, one thing or another, and then arthritis as well in those joints. So he had lots of pains and aches, but he's worked through them. And this year, I think, has been last year, 2021, was a real point of progression for him, because it's the first time he sort of felt really, really, really pain-free. Whenever the weather changes, he would notice aches and pains coming more into his joints, and especially whenever there's like the pressure change, if there's a bit more humid or a bit less humid, just that change seems to trigger that in his joints. But the last year we've really been focusing on building just strength, so doing 3 sets of 5 of the strength movements, and he's really noticed stronger shoulders, more mobility in his shoulders. He's able to squat below parallel, he's able to deadlift over 100 kilos, and the man is in his 60s, and he's doing fantastic. He's just doing really, really good, and it's great to see it. And he's doing it safely, he's doing it effectively, and all of those joints. Now, everyone like that age, I guess you're gonna have good days and bad days if you have joint pain, but he's done fantastic. Another client is Rushin, and Rushin started me, must be 4 years ago, maybe more, maybe 4.5, and she's been with me ever since. And she is a real gem. She's always bright, always cheery, always happy, and always just lifting other people up around her and being really friendly. And she's been great. And whenever she started, she had a bit of an issue with her back. She had some back pain, and she was hoping to get a bit stronger and to try and mitigate against back aches and issues. So what we did was, we couldn't do things like deadlifts whenever she started, but what we did was we just slowly built up her core. We did things that she could do, and we avoided other things, and we did some exercises, some core strengthening, some core stability exercises that helped her just learn what triggered her back pain. So one thing was actually lying down on the bench. One of the worst things for her was lying back onto a bench and getting up off it again. Sometimes she had to roll off of it, and it's really debilitating, especially whenever you've got kids and stuff to run after and look after. But she built it up, got stronger, and now she's just deadlifting like a pro. She's really, really strong spine, strong back, just a really strong lady, and she has done amazing, really, really good. And it's a privilege to train clients like her, and all the ones that I'm going to mention, and many, many more. Another lady is Grania, and she had some back issues as well, but she's come through those, and again, super strong lady, really, really persistent, consistent, and she was able to overcome back injuries. Just have to stay away from certain exercises for a period of time to let things heal, and not to annoy them, not to tick them off really. And we've been able to do that. We've again built in some essential core exercises that she's been able to build up and progress in. A few other clients, there's been Suzanne and Paula, and they've trained with me through pregnancy and give birth to beautiful, healthy babies who are now grown into larger children. And it was a real privilege training any pregnant lady just to be a part of that special time in their life, because they're growing a human inside them. They're obviously apprehensive, they're obviously worried, there's concerns, there's what if. But I'm really grateful that they trusted me to train them, that I knew what I was doing, and that they certainly benefited from the training, because they told me that it helped their delivery, it helped their recovery as well, so they could get back into their everyday life a lot sooner. So it was really a privilege training them. A couple of guys that were doing powerlifting in the last 12 months or so, Ed and Kate. Ed's a bit of a seasoned pro. Kate competed in a rookie competition, and it was just a real privilege and a joy to be a part of their process and training them for those competitions. So Ed hit personal bests in his last couple of competitions. He's lifted heavier than he's ever lifted. Kate, again, lifted heavier than she's ever lifted. Always a rookie competition, but not really going in with too many expectations, but she's lifted incredible weights in comparison to her body weight. Really, really impressive in the squat, the deadlift and the bench press. And I'm trying to think of other ones, but yeah, there's been so many. There's other clients who've trained through menopause. It's just been able to help them cope with menopause, deal with the symptoms, and reduce the severity of the symptoms. And lots and lots of older clients. There's another man, Paul. Can't forget about Paul actually. He was he 79 whenever he was training with me, and he was great to train. He was so full of life, and he really was an inspiration. Whenever you got chatting to him, he would tell you all about things like kefir and growing your own vegetables, and just all these things that only a man of his experience could tell you. And I felt like I was learning more from him than he was from me sometimes. But sometimes older people can be a bit apprehensive about starting the gym. But he said to me, if I'd known that it was this good for me and that it was this effective and it would make me feel this way, I would have started it so much sooner. I don't know why I avoided it for so long. And then COVID came, and obviously that kind of knocked that in the head. But I still keep in touch with him every now and then, and send him Christmas cards, and he phoned me up a few times, and it's been great to keep in touch with him. So hopefully, he's still doing something. He lost loads and loads of weight, by the way, as well. He was carrying a bit of weight, he would say himself, and he was able to lose a lot of it really quickly, just with the kind of real stubborn attitude, not old school attitude. He would just put his head down, and he lost so much weight so quickly and took a lot of pressure off his joints. He actually came in the walking stick. And I was thinking, what am I going to do with this creator? But before long, he'd lost the weight. He was squatting nice and deep. He was, his joint mobility came back. He was going up the mountains on his own, threw the stick away, didn't need it anymore. And it was just a real pleasure to train him and to be a part of it. And what an inspiration. What a lovely gentleman as well. A gentleman is how I would best describe him. So there's been loads and loads of clients that I've been privileged to train, to get to know, to be a small part of their life, and I remember all of them. Whenever I look back, even over all their files and all stuff, I can remember stories, and remember good times and laughs and stuff we shared in the gym. And it's been a real journey. It's been fantastic in the last 5 years, and it's been great for this episode to look back over them again. So initially, whenever I first started the gym in January of 2017, I had envisaged doing some large classes and some one-to-ones. That was really the only concepts that I was familiar with back then, and anything in between was a mystery to me, or it was unknown to me. And generally, I tried to provide as many different services as possible, so I was trying to spread myself very, very thin. I was trying to do kettlebell classes, boxercise, boot camps, one-to-ones, CrossFit, trying to do all these different things and have as many offerings as possible, because I thought, well, some people are into this, some people are into that. I want to serve as many people as I could. But what I found was that one-to-ones really were what there was the most demand for me for. So for the first year or so, I really only worked one-to-ones or very small groups, maybe 2s and 3s of friends or family members or whoever. Now this was a really, really great time for me to gain experience and to just watch and observe different people, different dimensions, different anatomies, how they moved for hundreds of hours in really great detail. And sometimes you go home exhausted. I would go, be watching people for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and just you'd be drained, because you'd be always calculating. You'd be thinking, where's their body weight going? You'd be kind of looking at their movement patterns and trying to see how you could help them or how you could improve them. But I did learn so much from it. Then after a year or so, I set up a class called Total Body Toning, which is a combination of functional exercises that involve the whole body. So full body class in one, full body movements in one class. So strength movements, core exercises, HIIT cardio. Try to get a combination of body weight movements, and then like barbell, dumbbell, kettlebell, all that sort of stuff as well. And this was initially set up as a 12-week block for some of the guys who had trained with me in the past or who were currently training with me. I think I had about 5 or 6 guys who started, and then others joined as we went until we reached the cap, which was 8 people. Now the gym back then was a bit smaller, so 8 was just perfect. 8 was enough for me to keep my eyeballs on and make sure everyone's doing everything as they should be and doing it correctly. And we didn't have as much equipment, so it worked really well. Then after the 12 weeks, the guys told me that they really enjoyed it and they would love if I could continue doing it, and they felt it really benefiting them. So I was happy to keep it running, and we kind of run it then indefinitely. I did twice a week, then we increased it to 3 times a week, and slowly but surely this is built up until we capped it at 12 people. Now the last couple of years, with all the upheaval with government mandates and government legislation and stuff coming in with COVID and everyone going crazy, we've had to make adjustments, and it's been a bit of upheaval, and we kind of lost a bit of momentum. But as soon as the doors opened, thankfully the guys all came back. They were keen to keep going, keen to get back stuck in again and look after themselves, look after their health and their mental health as much as anything. So sometimes we would have had maybe 5 or 6, other times it was a full house. But members told friends, and then they told friends, and it really snowballed from there. So this class is still running to this very day. So instead of 3 times a week now, we do it 2 times a week. And we have a few other classes now too that we'll maybe talk about a little bit later. But up until August 2019, I was still booking people in manually, the old school way. Not with like a paper diary, not that old school, I'm not old. But with my phone calendar diary. Then in 2019, I think it was August 2019, I got a proper schedule together for the gym. I probably could have done this sooner, but it was a bit of a scary change, so you don't want to mess things up. If things seem to be going well, you don't want to, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But basically I scheduled the times and days that one-to-ones are available, and then the new format of semi-private small group PT that was being put into place. I can't remember the exact times we're doing, but one-to-ones, I quickly discovered that early morning and evenings were the most popular times to train. So I really hated having to turn people away. If 5, 6, 7, even 8 o'clock were busy, I was trying to squeeze in more clients and only had so many hours in the day to work and to provide the service. So this birthed semi-private small group PT. Basically, I set up an online system on the website, and that meant clients could book themselves in to whatever slots they preferred from whatever was offered. So the prime time slots were set aside for semi-private PT sessions, so that's for up to 4 people. So anybody from 0 to 4 people could book in at like 7, 8 a.m. and then like 6 and 7 p.m.s. So then one-to-one slots were kind of reserved for 5 p.m. or 6 a.m. or 9 a.m. And yeah, it was kind of scary making the transition. Part of me was holding back in case everyone just said screw this, and didn't want to come back all at once. They weren't happy with the change, but thankfully everyone was great about it. They really embraced it, and I think they enjoyed the flexibility of it. So those were the main offerings for quite a while, and now we're able to offer partner training as well. So some slots set aside for that, and that's been great. So especially with COVID and stuff around, so say a husband and wife wanted to train together and they wanted to bubble, that was cool. Say somebody else wanted to train with their mum or their dad or their son or their daughter or the brother, sister, whoever. That's been really good as well, and slightly better value than the one-to-one training. And then the semi-private small group PT is slightly better value again than the partner training. So it depends on people's budgets, depends on their schedule, depends on who they like working out with or not. But it's been great to be able to provide different avenues for people to go down, and being able to provide more slots for people with the same amount of hours in the day, but being able to open up. So some people are more equipped and more comfortable in a semi-private setting because they know they're getting a one-to-one, a tailored workout program that's suitable for their goals, but they've got somebody watching them, and so that's been great. And then some people just prefer the privacy of a one-to-one, just nobody gawking at them, nobody else in the room. Other people like the interaction and the social element of semi-private. I enjoy it as well. I enjoy both. I enjoy chatting to people whether it's one-to-one basis or whether it's in a group. So if you're in the area, do give them a bash. So moving on then, the classes that we have at the moment, we eventually moved to creating 3 different large group classes, and they're on 2 times a week. So that's 6 days per week. We have classes on at 6 p.m. on weekdays and then 8 a.m. on Saturdays, just to get a little bit of a plug in here, you know. So basically, we still have total body toning class on. That's been running that's come out in 4 years now, which is crazy. And the goal of it, as mentioned briefly earlier, is it's kind of general fitness, some basic bodyweight strength movements, so like your push-ups, pull-ups, ring rows, all that sort of stuff, and then hit cardio, core, some weight stuff as well, kettlebell stuff. And we're trying to get a lot of different modalities in and different formats, different movements, and a lot of compound movements. We're trying to focus on the big muscles and trying to recruit as much as we can and just get a good variety of work done in the 45-minute class. So it's this mixture that really allows me as a planner and a programmer to let loose and get some creativity in and think of different angles and ways that we can challenge the body in safe, effective and efficient ways. And as I said before, all the classes are 45 minutes, so people are free to come in earlier on and warm up as much or as little as they want to. And then the other class we introduced then, really exciting, in the summer of 2021, this was the next progression, this was Atomic. So I've thought quite a long time about introducing new classes. It's always difficult to know if there's going to be demand or not. So Atomic is much lighter. It doesn't involve any heavy weights or any weights apart from your body weight, really. And we largely base it around HIIT training principles. So I think most people are familiar with HIIT training these days. Sometimes we do AMRAPs, so you'd maybe do 2 different exercises for a set amount of reps and try and bang out as many rounds as possible in that allotted time, whatever that is. We do other things like partner workouts, all sorts of things. And we do try and get a good mixture, so we'll try and use the Rogue Echo Air bikes, Concept 2 bike ergs, Concept 2 rowers, ski ergs, sled push, all great equipment, by the way, just in case they're listening and they want to give me some free equipment to tell the people how great it is. And the goal of that is obviously increasing aerobic fitness, so there are lots and lots of benefits to jacking up your heart rate and giving something 100% intensity for a matter of seconds, because let's face it, if you're giving it 100%, you're not going to last much more than a matter of seconds, and then resting for a few seconds and then letting the heart rate settle a bit and then going again and then again and then again and just repeating that for most of the class. So most people are familiar with HIIT training. Even the media is familiar with HIIT training, which lets you know that it's been around for a while. And then the benefits have been well documented for many, many years now. Lots of people do it to get a buzz, the endorphin release, and how good it makes you feel afterwards. Others like to do it just for how it clears out your head space and the psychological benefits that come from that. Others want to burn a lot of calories, which it will definitely do. Others try to improve their aerobic capacity, so it makes them much better at their sport, like running or Gaelic or rugby or soccer or whatever it is you want to do. There are so many benefits that come from it, and that's based upon not just the science behind why I put it together, but also the feedback from clients who have tried it and then they've put themselves to the test in their sport. Lots and lots of benefits psychologically and physically. Third class we added is called Power. Sounds a bit of an intimidating name actually in hindsight, but it's in keeping with what the class is about. It's about lifting weights, it's about getting stronger. No matter what anyone's starting point is. A lot of people are quite worried and anxious, unsure about starting this class, but we basically bring you along and get you stronger little by little, bit by bit, mainly by barbell training. So squats, bench press, overhead press, deadlifts, pull-ups, all the big strength exercises, we try and include them, and we try basically to get you stronger every single session with incremental loading. And this is probably actually now the most in-demand class, which is kind of cool, because at the start people are a bit apprehensive about joining it at all. I don't know if we would be strong enough to start it. That's a crazy thing to say, isn't it? But that's what people think. Now there's generally a waiting list for most of the classes to get into it, especially the Tuesday evening one. So obviously there are lots and lots of benefits to weight training, and those benefits, again, they're starting to get mainstream media attention, which just lets you know that how long it's been around for, and that they're always last to the party. From bone density point of view, increasing bone density, to toning, to mental health benefits, to fat loss, the metabolic impact it has, mobility, fighting off the aging process, and loads and loads and loads more. stronger muscles, bigger muscles. If you're guys, we usually partner people up, so people who are at a similar level or similar heights, which is quite good for squatting because you don't have to adjust the rack. And then while one person's doing the work, the other person is resting, and vice versa. And we just try and take turns in a lot of time periods. So there's no rush. The biggest mistake for this class is people don't rest enough. And this is what really holds them back from getting stronger. If they're rushing in and getting their 3 sets done in the first 5 minutes, there's a problem. There's a big problem. So I'm always having to emphasize the need to rest, because if you've tried different classes before, like boot camps or my classes like Atomic and Total Body Toning, which are all go, you're told to go on the minute kind of thing, this can feel really different. It can feel really strange just standing about and waiting. You feel like you're being lazy, standing in the gym, not doing anything, but the rest is so important because it sets you up for the work then. It lets your heart rate settle, it helps you get strength back into your muscles so you're able to lift as heavy as you did for the set previous. So yeah, that's kind of the format at the minute. The classes are really, really popular, which is great, and there's still a couple of spaces left. If you're in the area, do check them out. We base it around 3 or 4 different plans, subscription plans. So a once a week type subscription, twice a week, 3 times a week, or unlimited. And there's also a drop-in option as well, which is good if you're kind of traveling or you're not always about or you're not sure what your schedule is. So we do have lots and lots of options, and over time it's just kind of molded and progressed into the format we have today, which I think is working quite well so far. We use an app as well, members app, and they can book themselves in, they can cancel, they can check in, they can do all sorts of things on it, and it's really good, and we've got good feedback on that as well, and it's been pretty reliable. Before I even opened the gym, and I was still setting up my website, online training was something that really interested me, and I didn't really know how it would quite work, or in what format would be best, or whether I would do it live, or whether they'd follow along with me. But I did recognise there was a capacity for it, there was a potential for it. However, I thought it was quite funny, whenever I mentioned it to friends or family, other people would be like, who's going to do that? Who's going to do it with Wee Stuart from Warren Point? Surely everyone's going to go and do it with the body coach, or like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Or I think people had it in their head that you had to be like famous or semi-famous. People are going to do it with the body coach Joseph Wicks. But it's kind of funny because at the start, whenever I set up my website, I even had the offering of online one-to-one training sessions on the website shop, just in case somebody wanted to just randomly happen to click on the website and they wanted to do that with me, even though they didn't know who I was. I thought there was, that was one way of doing it, and I didn't think that in 4 or 5 years' time that we'd all be doing that we'd all be on Zoom or something doing whether it was group classes or one-to-ones. But I suppose if there's anything good come from the last 2 years, it's been the fact that people's eyes have now been opened to the capacity of online training and the potential reach of it as well. Obviously not ideal, it's not like the best thing in the world. I think face-to-face and with somebody is the best way to do it, for lots of reasons. But it's better than nothing, right? It's absolutely 10 million times better than doing nothing. So I initially offered free online training to, I think it was 10 or 12 people with some software I found online. I would say 8 out of 10 achieved some great success, and I found software to use that I was comfortable with and I could use it pretty well. I can't even remember the name of it now, but it did the job, but probably wasn't as convenient for clients as I would have liked. So I used that, I got feedback, what worked, what didn't work, what they liked, what they didn't like, and then I could improve upon it the next time. I've just done that over and over again until I've got a service that I'm able to offer, and I'm pleased with the level that I'm able of support I'm able to give, and the convenience it's able to bring to the client. And again, some really great successes with it. I've had people sometimes in Open Up train from all over Ireland doing it, so a lot further afield than Warren Point or more, but some were in the United Arab Emirates, some were in Canada, one was in a few in the UK, so it was kind of all over the place. I actually can't remember, I must actually look up where they were all from, but it was great to be able to reach and help people from further than 30 minutes up the road. Some people think that online training is actually, it's a cop-out for trainers, that's easy, you can kind of lie in your bed and do it, and from the trainer's point of view it seems easier, but I can guarantee it is not. If you're going to do it well and do it really, really well, it's difficult, but in a different way. It's not just about turning up and being there being physically present. It takes more self-discipline, putting together a schedule and sticking to it to make sure that it happens. Otherwise, the service suffers, and the clients don't get the results that they deserve. It's not. I guess whenever you train someone face to face, you are being accountable to the client, and the client's being accountable to you. But whenever it's online, it's a little bit of a different relationship. So communication is really important. It's important to keep that going as much as possible. So I've had some clients that have been with me for nearly 4 years now. Others have been with me for like 2 years, more than 2 years. But I'm not doing it as much. I'm not really actively seeking online clients at the minute. But hopefully, again, I'll be able to ramp it up this year and commit more time to it, because it does take time to do it well, as I said. So I don't want to do something half-assed, but it's been a really great addition to the total service and the total business of cross-functional fitness, and reaching others and teaching them things, and teaching them about their body and how to look after it and how to train well. So whenever the gym first started, I actually hadn't compiled all of the equipment that I had intended to. There were some waiting lists, and some things just simply couldn't afford because I was putting together my savings and putting it into it. But I got all the things that I really needed: barbells, kettlebells, dumbbells, all that sort of stuff, racks and rigs and things like that. And had a couple of spin bikes, used them, had a rower, I bought a sled. And I bought all the things that I really needed. Bought a few different, sorry, I bought a few of the same weight of dumbbells in case there were small groups in, they need to use the same dumbbells. But there's lots of other things that have been upgraded in the last couple of years, and bit by bit, as there was more success, more money coming in, I put it aside and put it into equipment. I've always tried to go for the best equipment, so things like Concept 2 or Rogue Echo bikes, I've gone for those, and bit by bit, gradually built up the arsenal of equipment that we have today. So we've got 2 Concept 2 rowers, we've got 2 Concept 2 bike ergs, we've got 2 Rogue Echo air bikes, we've got 1 Concept 2 ski erg, and we've got lots of slam balls as well, and skipping ropes, things like that. But it really doesn't take a lot of equipment to get a lot of work done and to have a successful workout. And that's something I always try and emphasize to my clients. You don't have to buy the latest equipment or the stuff you see in the shopping channel, or you don't have to have a full gym with all the machines. Some of those machines are crazy money, and I think most of the gyms get them on finance. I'm assuming they do, because there's no way they could afford them outright and buying them outright. There's just no way. But for me, barbells are always going to be king. They're always going to be the core of what we do here, because they have yet to be improved upon. It's the most ergonomically perfect piece of workout equipment. There's so many things you can do with it, and it's the best way to get stronger, and strength is the basis of fitness. So we've gradually upgraded equipment. We had a rig in the corner whenever we started. We could do dips on, you could do pull-ups on, you could do ring rows, you could do all sorts of things on. But we were kind of limited. We couldn't do squats or anything on it. We didn't have any hooks or J hooks or anything we could put the barbells on. Couldn't do overhead press. Couldn't use it. So it was versatile, but not versatile enough. So I got a friend to build me a brand new rig, which we got installed in the summer of 2021. That's been great. It's got 2 bays in it. It means we can get 2 people training on either side of it, doing squats or doing bench press or doing overhead press, doing pull-ups off of it. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like six bars or something you can do pull-ups. Isn't there 6? So yeah, 6 bars you can do pull-ups off, which is great. Do ring rows inside of or outside of, do TRX rows. There's loads of stuff we can do. It's so versatile, and we can save space. We're able to store weights either side of the room now as well. So that's been a really great space saving addition to the gym. And I'm trying to think what other upgrades we've got. I've got a ski erg in 2020. I had to wait for it. I had to wait like 16 weeks or something to get a new rower, and 16 weeks to get a new get some of the Concept 2 bikes as well. Some of the waiting lists and things were crazy, just the supply chain breakdown. But bit by bit, we've gradually built up equipment. Looking back, there's lots of equipment I bought that probably don't need. So stuff like Bosu balls, stuff like some of the hurdles, probably don't really need them. We use them like a couple of times a year. All the slam balls, probably don't need that many slam balls. We kind of had one for everyone in the audience. Haven't needed that many, but I always thought it was better to have too many and too little. Bought loads of boxing equipment as well, like punch pads and gloves and things. Probably don't need that many either. But there's loads of stuff. I guess in hindsight, you learn what you need, what you don't need, and got rid of some stuff and got more stuff and stored some stuff, and it's just built its way up gradually. So bit by bit, as I said earlier, probably the slow way, but I think we've got a great arsenal of equipment now for clients to use, and it's the best equipment, it's the most reliable equipment, so it's really good to be able to offer that to the paying customer. But it's kind of like the ethos of cross-functional fitness, doing what you can, doing what you can with what you've got. I had limited budget, we had limited space, so we're just making do with what we had, and we've gradually improved upon that and built upon that, and just try to make as much use of the space as we can. It's never going to be a big commercial gym here, not in this space at least, unless we knock a few walls down. But it's big enough for what we need to do and what we want to do and who we want to serve in this community. So whenever I was legally allowed to reopen after being shut down by the government in 2021, as many small businesses illegitimately were, one of my clients mentioned that they knew someone who was recently qualified as a personal trainer. So this was 2020, not 2021, 2020. There's been so many times that the government have shut us down, it's hard to keep track. But this is in July 2020, reopened. One of my clients mentioned that they knew someone who was recently qualified as a personal trainer, and was wondering if they'd be able to come in and maybe, shadow me for a while and get some hands-on real life experience. I said yes in a heartbeat, absolutely, and the rest is history. So this guy's name is Jack O'Hare, and you might have heard of him. And he came in for about 3 or 4 months, I think it was, to shadow me and to learn how to conduct training sessions in the real world with real clients, because it's very, very different. I know once you're qualified, getting experience and working with real people with real issues like mobility issues and all sorts of old injuries and stuff like that. So he was really helpful. He used his initiative, and I could tell that he was really passionate about it all. So that goes a long, long way into the work and the quality of work you're prepared to produce. So I tried to give him some little tasks to do just to help sharpen his skills a little bit more, and try and spend time teaching him stuff outside of the session times that I was with people, and just having good chats with him and that. And I then suggested that he use the gym for, after hours, that he could train up any potential clients that maybe were interested. So he came in, he started training people in November 2020. He had some friends, family, people like that he was able to gather up, and after I'd finished training, they'd come in and they'd do an hour or two. And he lives locally, he lives nearby, so it was really handy for him. And then he was continuing training up until the end of the year, and they were forced to shut again by a power-drunk government who seemed hell-bent destroying people's health and others' livelihoods. We opened for about a week, I think it was, just before Christmas, and then we're forced to shut again. So before we were forced to shut, I asked Jack if he'd be interested in working for me at the gym, and we hashed out the details before too long, arranged how it was gonna work, what we were gonna do, and we were initially told to be closed for a month, the month of January. But given that politicians tend to be compulsive, obsessive liars, I didn't believe it. I don't think many others believed them at that stage either. So when we eventually were allowed to reopen, who do these people think they are? Seriously. It's just unbelievable. We reopened then on the 30th of April 2021. That was a Friday, and a lot of people might have left it till the following week, like next Monday, to reopen and going into May. But I wanted to send a clear message to anyone that could hear, anyone that would listen, that gyms are essential. I've always said that, I've always believed that, and I always wanted to stay open, and I trust people enough to make their own decisions because we're all adults, and whether it was safe or not for them to come and train here. So I reopened at 6 a.m, as early as I could, on Friday the 30th of April 2021. I thought about actually doing it at like 1 minute past 12 on the 30th of April, but I don't think anybody would have turned up, only me. And thankfully, lots of clients were not scared off. I had clients actually that messaged me and were asking me to reopen sooner on the fly, but I decided not to, and the reason for that was because there are so many touts about. There seemed to be a real collection of touts that have developed in the last 18 months previous, so I decided not to. You just don't know who you can trust. So it took us a few months to build up clientele again after an intensive 4 months of many people being forced to sit inside, be filled with fear by the media and the government propaganda telling them that they'd die if they stepped outside their house, or that they were granny killers if they happened to visit their elderly relatives whom they loved and had very few years left anyway. But the same thing happened in 20. So the same thing happened again. I was in 2020. That was the year previous. We reopened on the 11th of July, I think it was, 2020, and it took us until nearly Christmas to build up clientele capacity again before being shut down again. And unlike many other businesses, personal training and gyms mostly personal training. It's a really hard sell. No, most people don't like training. Some people do. Those are people who go to the gym and train themselves. That's fine. Most people don't like training, and most people that come to personal trainers don't like training. That's why they come to us. They need that little push. They need that little bit of help. So even though I'd messaged and said, we're reopening, and lots of clients turned up, there was a lot of clients, some who were already overweight and knew they needed to change and they needed help doing so. So they got a routine together, they got a rhythm in their life together, some sort of stability, coming to the gym a couple of times a week, training with me. Suddenly they'd fallen back into old habits. After 4 or 5 months, they'd fallen back into these old habits that got them overweight, out of shape, and endangering their health in the first place. So some of those people might never step foot in the gym again, simply because the gyms were forced to close without a shred of evidence, which validated why. Still waiting on the evidence. It's not forthcoming. And some people will die prematurely from obesity-related illnesses, and others, some of those people. And that's something that really, I try not to think about it too much, because it really does bother me. I take it seriously. The government clearly aren't taking it seriously. Only in government would you get away with contributing to the premature deaths of others and still keep your job, and even get some sort of royal recognition. So that's the end of that little calculated rant. Jack started then training in the gym on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and I would come in and do Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturday mornings, and it's really worked well so far. Clients are really fond of Jack. In fact, I think they like him much better than me. I just haven't said it to my face, but I think that's the case. He's much nicer than me, I would say. In fact, I'm thinking of just retiring and sitting in the office here like a little recluse and recording more podcasts and rants. Wouldn't that be something? He really has been a great addition to the business, and I'm really delighted to have him part of it. I shadowed him for a few months and gave him some feedback on how to improve his coaching, and before letting him far away. And I'll maybe be here some days that he's in, and I'll just be in the office working away. But I don't want to kind of overshadow or compromise his authority whenever he's with a client. I want to make sure that the client knows that Jack's in charge, that it's not me. If whenever he's in charge of the session, he's in charge. So yeah, it's worked brilliant, and Jack is a really great addition to the business. So yeah, we're 5 years in. It's been fun. It's been exciting. It's been a huge learning curve for me. And there's been pressure, there's been satisfaction, there's been some great relationships and friendships developed. I've had the privilege of meeting some of the most exceptional people. I don't just mean in the gym, like great trainees, like good lifters, etc., genetically gifted. There's certainly been that, but just in how they conduct themselves and their lives, and just their zeal and their zest for life is really, really inspiring to be around. There are just some people as well who I've seen been very sad to see leave and move to different countries. Think of Kiva over in Australia, Matthew moved to London, Mary Kate moved to Liverpool, and there are others too. There are just some people who are just, I guess, fun to hang out with. There are others who you look forward to them coming into the gym and hearing about how their lives are in between training sets, just listening, hearing how their day or their week is going. And now some people, I guess, might not really give a crap, but for me, these are the benefits that come with this job, and many people don't foresee these things whenever they become a trainer or a coach. Some trainers might just think about the money, others might think about the success, or becoming famous, or being an instafluencer, or whatever they're called now. But other people just, they like doing what they training people and doing what they enjoy doing. That's just training, just trying to train people. But the social interaction, getting to know people and genuinely caring about them, wishing them well in every area of their lives is really underrated. Being just really delighted for someone, for a client, whenever they get a new job or a promotion, or maybe they start a new business venture, just that's exciting. It's exciting to hear about it and to be a part of their little dream, and just to be a small part of it. But maybe even an engagement or a marriage or a pregnancy or a birth or whatever, it's just amazing getting to be a part of someone's life at those significant moments. It's really, really special. And even bereavements and things like that as well, the tougher moments, it's a privilege to be a part of clients' lives at things during times like that. So what do the next 5 years look like? I really don't know. I really don't. But I'm enjoying this wild ride, and I really hope to continue as far as I can see. I don't like planning too far ahead. Certainly not out loud, as I don't like letting people down or disappointing people, I guess. I don't believe in the law of attraction or anything like that. If you believe in that, that's up to you. But I do think the hard work pays off, and just to steal Matt Fraser's tagline. If you don't know who Matt Fraser is, Google him. He's like a CrossFit champion 4 or 5 times or something crazy. But hard work, I think, does pay off whenever you point it in the right direction. You can work hard, but not necessarily smart. So in the next 5 years, I do intend to work smarter and not just hard. So increased intensity of work rather than the duration. So HIIT type work rather than a 20-mile run. That's probably a good way of looking at it. I do have some dreams. I'd really like to fulfill in this business, but it's just so much stuff out of my control that I don't like to plan things too loudly or set them in stone, because now that our gracious and benevolent leaders have got a taste of shutting down businesses and just really playing God with our lives, it makes it really difficult to forward plan as a business, as you might imagine. They clearly don't imagine it because they don't run businesses. They run organised crime. Sorry, did I say that loud? But I really do have a strong desire to continue to improve the service that we offer here in Warrenpoint. To the people of Warrenpoint, or Straver, Newry, Rathfriland, Mayo Bridge, Hilltown, right the way around this whole area, and even around the world as well with our online training service. I want to work on that in the next 5 years and deliver an even better service to online clients, people who can't come because of geographical differences. I'd also really like to collaborate more with local trainers and try to help each other out ultimately. So traditionally, I guess personal trainers treat each other as enemies. It's kind of weird. It's a really weird industry. They're suspicious of each other. They criticize each other's methods. They see each other as competition or rivals. But as Jonathan Goodman, who I chatted to in the podcast a couple months ago, he said it quite well. He said that trainers aren't in competition with each other. We're in competition with Netflix, with Apple TV, with McDonald's, with social media. We're trying ultimately to improve people's health, ultimately through fitness and nutrition habits. And in order for us to do that, and to do that well, we're competing for your attention and time along with those social media channels, Netflix, Apple TV, Amazon Prime, the fast food chains. That's it. So I really would love to work with other trainers and think of ways that we could serve our local community better so that we can get people moving, make them stronger, fitter, healthier, and happier. Because you know what? COVID-19 is not the last pandemic. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, I hate to say it out loud, but it wasn't the most serious in history, and it's also not going to be the last one. If you look at the statistics, it's just not. They predicted bodies were going to be lying in the street piling up. That's what they told us in spring 2020. Seems so long ago now. Because it was going to cause so many deaths. It didn't happen. Why did it not happen? People say because of lockdowns, because of masks. There's no data to back that up. If you compare it to Sweden and other places, their models were all wrong, as they always are, but their models were wrong. But back to the point, what happens when a really, really, really bad pandemic does come along and has a 30 or 40% death rate? Are we going to try and vaccinate our way out of that? We're not going to be able to boost our way out of it every time something like this comes along, and it's going to come along more often. Sickness is a part of life, unfortunately, as we said before. It's not a pleasant part, but it's just something we have to put up with. Our only shot, our only hope is to try and be as healthy as possible. So whenever a deadly disease does come along, whether it's manufactured in a lab or not, whether it's naturally occurring, we will be in the best shape possible to fight it off. Before you turn me off or turn me into the social media powers for sharing thoughts that you don't necessarily agree with, or think that I'm kind of off the radar here, I understand COVID and other diseases can take the lives of perfectly fit individuals, people who have looked after themselves, who didn't smoke, who didn't drink, they ate well, they trained. But the reality is the number of such people is so small, they're statistically irrelevant. Now hear what I said there. I'm saying as a stat, they're statistically irrelevant. I'm not trying to say anything about them personally or trying to devalue their lives. And if you've lost someone who was like that, I really am sorry for your loss. Not at all am I trying to disrespect them. I'm dealing with the risk and statistics here, so bear that in mind. I'm not into irrational kind of personal attacks on people I don't know, but put this in context. It's like saying that someone you knew was killed in a car accident, but they never sped. They always wore their seatbelt. They serviced their car. They kept their tire treads up to where they should be. So the solution to prevent that risk of death again is to ban cars, just in case someone who does all of the above happens to be involved in a car accident. It's crazy, right? It sounds crazy because it is crazy. Life is full of risks, unfortunately. You hear some freak accidents happening, like people getting struck by lightning, or just these weird like buildings collapsing for, stood for 20, 30, 40 years, and all of a sudden this building collapses. You hear about these freak things happening. But if we think about things rationally, how can we reduce our risk of developing severe reaction to COVID, cancer, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and lots of other diseases? We can stay in shape, we can eat well, we can train regularly, we can reduce our intake of refined sugars, soft drinks, move more, reduce our stress levels, sleep better, all of the basics, and doing them every day. Doing them every day, not taking 6 years off and then thinking, oh no, my waist's 40 inches now. Keep doing them. So in the next 5 years, getting back to the point, sorry for the rant, I'm not really sorry because I think it needs to be said, but I want to work with other trainers to make this prospect more attractive to you, the public. They talk about public health. Public health, it's more like public medical treatment rather than public health. If we were really concerned about public health, we would be doing all those basics. Not through scaremongering or propaganda, but with actual facts, with statistics that make sense, that aren't doctored and tweaked to fit an agenda. We have a great community, get great community connections built with support, help, guidance, accountability, not through mandates, not through free gym memberships or anything, and the government can admonish them on us, but just making people aware of the huge benefits of training, eating well, sleeping well, managing stress, all of the basics, and how it improves your life in so many ways. Okay, joke of the week. That's enough of the serious stuff over. Did you hear about the soldier that survived mustard gas attack in battle and then he got pepper sprayed by the police? He's now a seasoned veteran. I'll see myself out.
That is very much adequate.
That is the end of the show. Thank you so much for joining me once again on episode 35. And thank you for being even a little tiny small part or a big huge part of Cross-Functional Fitness over the last 5 years. I really appreciate you coming to the classes or coming to the training session, the personal training sessions. I appreciate you listening to this podcast, reading my posts, just contributing or engaging in any way. It really means so much to me. I can't tell you how much it means to me. And I would love to hear from you if you're a silent listener or you're a silent viewer and you've been reading content over the last 5 years. I'd really love to hear from you, even because it's kind of cool just hearing people that you never knew were there. So have a great weekend. Remember to train today so you can be stronger tomorrow, and I will catch you again next week, hopefully. Take care.